Howdy, y'all. Joe here from ActionX, and welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back. If this is your 19th and penultimate episode review for Season 2 of CW's Walker. In the end, it's about to close off another season. By this time next week, it will be over. Season 2 will be done. We'll be waiting for Season 3 and the prequel. And honestly, I'm excited. I'm really, this episode definitely got me re-hyped up for what the... I'm still concerned now a little bit because they really set up so much on their plate that I don't even know how the heck they're going to resolve majority of it in the next 44 minutes of television. I really don't know. And obviously, of course, we got season 3, so I'm assuming they wrote the finale knowing, hey, we are going into a third season, so let's have some time to breathe. I don't think the conflict between the Walkers and the Davisons is really going to wrap up by next week. I don't think so. I think they're going to leave that door open for season 3 to kind of tie up some more loose threads, which is fine. You don't have to rush things just for the sake of, oh, we want to tell a brand new story in season 2 and 3, but it works out there. But this episode definitely brought more questions. It gave us a couple answers, but many more questions, and of course setting more stuff up for the inevitable third season, which honestly, it's good to future plan because it gives you enough seeds so that when you do come back, which I'm assuming they are writing it right now as we speak, when you start working on that third season, you have a lot to pull from that. Okay, here's the ideas we left ourselves with at the end of season 2. How do we pick things up for season 3? So I appreciate that, but in terms of just a standalone episode, I think this definitely brings everything into we're getting to that heated point. Like everyone's literally has something to lose by this point. Everything's on the stroke of explosion, and I'm really excited to see what it's gonna look like next week when we finally do pull that trigger. So let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Walker. So we begin right where we left off last week. Miles is alive. Cassie's overcome initially with joy. Still, we don't really get much insight to what the hell happened at the woods. Those guys started shooting them, and according to Walker, they did hide out in the bushes for hours and hours, and they just got back to the station, so they're all pretty worn for wear. Cassie's excitement turns into frustration because she's like, well, wait a minute, we all thought you were dead. There's supposed evidence suggesting that, yeah, you died in the van and then you were just buried up somewhere in the middle of Texas or even in Mexico. But he's like, no, this was planned by the captain and I. There was a bigger conspiracy at work. They were part of this unauthorized investigation, and one of the keys that they had to do was to have Miles be killed so that he could be used as a later tool down the road. However, sadly, Cassie was not informed about the situation, so Cassie was left, in the dark for many, many months, had to go for a lot of depressing months alone, but, and of course, obviously, she's not happy with him since, all this time he's been alive and he never really gave her much of a clue to, say, hey, I'm alive, just don't worry about me, just act like I'm dead. However, Cassie lets Miles know the unfortunate side of things, which may not tie to this captain is all that he seems, is that she was telling him basically point blank, well, did you know that your captain told everyone you were dead, and he's been banging your wife for the past few months? Which again, I'm still in the mindset of what is the appropriate time before you're able to jump the sack with someone else after you've been married for so long. I honestly had something similar to me, not to me personally. I haven't been married, so don't worry about that. I mean, I've been on camera for almost more than a decade. I'm pretty sure I would have brought up the fact I was married at some point. I'm not. But there is a good question about that, what is the appropriate time level? And, it's the same thing with a breakup. Well, let me rephrase that. It depends on the situation. It really does. And, she waited, I want to say, I think they mentioned 6 months, 6 months since Miles' confirmed death to move on with, in this case, the captain. But however, it's still for me, if it was hypothetically for me, maybe I would wait a few years, give or take, and because you had that happiness, it's going to be hard to replicate that. That's at least in my position. Everyone's different, but of course, Miles is overcome with a mixed bag of emotions. And he's alive, he's glad everyone's still alive back in the real world. But the fact that his wife has been screwing around with his captain, and he's been telling her yeah, your husband's dead. If anyone wants to know, hey, your husband's secretly alive, don't worry about it, just act like he's dead, just to keep whatever the hell they're investigating under wraps, that would be fine. But, he didn't. He just said, you know what? This is the perfect time for me to go screw your wife, because your wife's a good I'm gonna stop there. I'm going way too far off the rabbit hole here. So Cassie leaves disappointed, and Walker and James are still asking questions like, "What the hell's going on? What is this investigation about?" And Miles is like, "I can't." Like literally, the reason why this investigation was off the books because we really don't know who we can trust inside the force. So we had to like make this all under the radar type of thing. But James is like, again, like we literally risked our lives for you. No one knew you were alive. We could have easily just let you to die over there. So you kind of have a right to tell us what's up. But he doesn't give much information away. So they put him into witness protection. They hide him out in some cabin in the woods, or they hide him out somewhere. I think it was Trey's house, if that recalls, but I don't believe so. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? So we cut to the next morning. For some reason, Stella is over at her old house / the new expanded Daverson home. And even Colton's like surprised, like, what are you doing here? And I was just thinking to myself, did they hook up last time? I mean, like, Jesus. Like, damn, they rushed fast. But no, it wasn't that. She's just like, she came over and, you know, she decided to make him a little breakfast, you know, just as a way of like, you know, the traumatic event we just went through just made us realize, yeah, we are, for some reason, this entire game of life has, you know, continuously put us through trials, and, you know, we still survived them. So at this point, Stella just considers herself his girlfriend, and hopefully vice versa. Colton agrees, and Stella brings up the fact of, yeah, you know what, we should maybe begin to try and bury the hatchet between our families since we are going to be dating. Let's have a dinner between our families, try to like begin to mend the ship, since, you know, again, they want this to work, they want this to go for the long haul, and that would involve the Walker and the Daversons kind of, you know, having to make amends, and, you know, kind of have to, okay, not make amends, more like tolerate each other just for the sake of their happiness. So they start telling every member of the family. Everyone slowly agrees, all for the sake of, you know, Stella and Colton. So they all agree on that. But secretly, of course, we know that the Walkers are planning on some sort of coup to try and get either D.A. Daverson or Grandma Daverson to admit that they were the one who cut Cordell's satchel, so that they can get some sort of loophole to kind of maybe at least get the Walkers back to their house. And they're using the dinner as a guise to get themselves in there without having an aroused suspicion. So that's their plan. That's at least the game plan. Everyone's on board with it. I want to say we cut to the next morning where James pays a visit to the actual captain. And at first the captain's like, you know, you have nothing to get against me. Like, you know, I'm doing this because you don't understand why I'm doing this for. And the more James talks, it's like, yeah, the more like, yeah, this guy's screwed. Like, you know, this captain, like, you know, really fucked himself. Or like, he's not admitting anything, but he's not denying anything. So, and the evidence is against him. So, sad to say, you know, he's going to lose everything just for the sake of hiding whatever secret they're hiding. Cassie has Miles and his wife reunite, and, you know, at first it was like very much a romantic embrace, that they're very happy together. But once Miles starts to hear that officially from her mouth that, like, yeah, we've been, you know, together, like, you know, in many different ways. Like, another thing that maybe I should be, like, you can date some people, but, like, you know, maybe, like, you know, wait until the physical aspect kind of, you know, dies out a little bit. I think in Jane the Virgin, another CW show that I watched and did a quick impressions on a few years ago. Oh God, I feel old. In that show, like when her husband, mild spoiler, but when her husband originally died, she waited, I think, 3 years before she went back into bed with someone. That's an appropriate time. Like, I meant that. Like, okay, 3 years is enough time. You know, you've had time to cope. Maybe the first year to do all the first Thanksgiving, first Christmas without them. The second year is kind of like, you're still, like, you know, missing them, but, like, you're beginning to, like, you know, witness a life afterward. The third year is kind of like when you're, like, you're going back to normal, like a new normal, let's say. So after that point, that's when I feel like it's appropriate. I know, again, some other people are different, but I'm just saying that's my prerogative there. Where was I going with that? Oh shit! I was on this tangent. I completely forgot what the hell I was talking about here. Oh right, the couple. Yeah. So Miles is a bit distraught, but he really can't blame her too much. You know, I still feel, but I would still feel like really awkward of like. So my boss's dick was. I don't know why I'm going so restricted today. I apologize. This is supposed to be a TV-14 show. I apologize. This is one of those nights where I just want to let loose a little bit. My bad. Anywho, so that's when Miles gets sent up to witness protection or custody protection just to keep him safe, because we don't know what the hell this organization or this conspiracy they're involved with. He's got to be protected. I believe next over we I guess we just have the entire family. Oh yeah, so like just a minor thing. August has apparently taken an interest in guitar, so Grandma Walker decides to take him out to look at some. I don't know if it was meant to buy him one. I don't think that was a prerogative, but there was a cute girl there that August takes notice to. I'm not sure if that's trying to set up some sort of like another love interest for him down the road. We'll see how it goes. I'm not, but I think all bets aside, I think we get to the point of the dinner where everyone but Cordell, because he's busy doing the investigation, they all come together. They kind of have a moment outside their former home. They're like, this should be our home. We should be here. But we got to play ball a little bit. Just because we have a suspicion this was rigged, we can't just automatically just come fires a blazing like Liam did and just expect them to admit it at point blank. No, they got to wait for the right moment to come. And it does suck. It sucks that they're wasting money on a rental home as well as their real home. There's a chance that they might have been able to still keep their home. So it does suck. It's a waste of money, but they're accepting it. They're trying to get through it. And as a sign of goodwill, Grandma Walker cooked way too much food than possible just to have the sake of having some edible food on the platter, which I'm like, you know what? Fair point. D.A. Daverson and Grandma Daverson are just talking about like the Walkers just standing in front of their porch. And, this is when Grandma Walker's like, not Grandma Walker, Grandma Daverson's like, I feel so bad for them that they lost everything. Oh, well. Again, it's that really smug talk where like, yeah, there's something you're hiding, and I really can't wait till everything comes undone and you really get your moment of like, come up. I'm not saying this entire rivalry like literally had, it's not without merit, but you come to a point where like you go a certain distance just based on pettiness, not really because you had an actual claim to this argument, let's say that. So they all come in, the dinner starts getting arranged, everyone's still wondering, is this dinner was the right idea? Is it really too soon? But, everyone agrees that, yeah, this is the time now. Everyone's still fresh off the save from the last episode. So there still needs to be, we need that wiggle room. Let's do it now when the iron's hot, and let's see how it goes. The dinner is very, very awkward, let me tell you what. Let me tell you. It is the most awkwardest family dinner I've ever seen since my Thanksgiving dinner of 2009, I want to say. It was the first Thanksgiving since my parents announced they were getting divorced, which they still came together for the sake of my family, but it was still very, very awkward, and it was very, I'll tell that story another day. But anyway, so like it comes to the point where like Grandma Walker tried to take her original place at the right side of the table next to the head of the table, so she gets it because she gives like a cold death stare to the D.A. Daverson, and Grandma Daverson's like about to take the master chair, and Grandpa Walker used to sitting there, and now he's like, trying to fight. But again, this is the case of like, this ain't your home anymore. Like, she's in charge now. It sucks to say, but you gotta deal with it. So they accustomed to their seating arrangement. And at first they're really trying, but when more wine gets poured and more stares are thrown, it's apparently like, yeah, they all want to kill each other right there and then. But it is what it is. They keep going as much as they can. I believe at some point Grandpa Walker gets to a boiling point where like he has to explode just a tad bit about the changes they've been making around the house. Like, it's not really based on like the accoutrements or how the scenery is. It's just because they hate the Walkers and they're just trying to remove any trace of their stamp on the land just for the sake of spiting them, which they don't deny. But Grandpa Walker was about to flip the table before he decided to take a step back and kind of relax a little bit. Cordell shows up, immediately a little distraught that, this is like the state of the family dinner. Like, already these people want to kill each other. Like, I've only been gone for like an hour. Like, really? Already? Grandpa Walker has a moment of weakness where he admits to Jerry that he wishes that she would just like ignore the Daversons and just accept the Walkers as their true family because, just based on loyalty. But even Cordell and Jerry are just saying like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, we're just trying to make things right, 50-50, trying to make this work. And Grandpa Walker does get a little bit resettled. He goes back to the table in mild manners, but it's still clear that, yeah, he really wants to rip them a new one. I wouldn't be surprised myself either way. I want to see if there's anything I forgot from the other storyline going on. I want to say we don't. I know, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, so James is trying to interrogate the other captain. It's not working at all. He's still saying like, you don't understand. There's a bigger thing that you don't understand about. I can't even tell you anything because your life would be at stake if I told you about it. And, the generic, like, blah, 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 you don't get to know anything till the finale. James decides to hold him there until he's ready to talk, and he can hold him there as long as he wants, considering the fact he's been lying to the Texas Rangers. They don't give a damn about him right now. So, like, all his rights, out the window. So James gives him a moment to think about it. Maybe when he comes back to start, telling the story. He does it. He brings out a cyanide tablet from a freaking Tic Tac box, I believe, or just somewhere. He chews it and swallows it, and he starts foaming up in the mouth. He dies. James tries to resuscitate him, but it's to no avail. He's already dead. Honestly, that sounds like a scary way to go. Like, the last time I saw cyanide death was in First Avenger, where, like, I wouldn't even imagine, like, just the fear that it would be, that it would take to, to go through that. I can't even imagine. But so we head back over to the former Walker home. Walker's finally getting some dinner in him, and the family's still really up in arms. Liam's trying to begin to kind of recap the events of that morning to kind of maybe get one of them to slip up about the fact of the saddle thing. But Cordell being there, and also their other arguments kind of distraught the conversation to the point where everyone just wants to kill each other. Even bringing up claims of well, the D.A. Davidson got not just August arrested, he got Grandpa Walker arrested, which again, they made their mistakes, they made their stupid choices, but the Walkers have too. And August tries to mend the ship of trying to keep the families together by trying to be civil here, but it ain't working. They went past the last cup of wine for them to even lose any sort of sense of sanity. I want to say eventually D.A. Davidson kind of blows up, and about the whole okay, yeah, I got 2 of your family members arrested. I apologize for that. But if you're to keep holding that over me, then what's the sake of trying to have this union between our kids? So she leaves, the dinner's kind of over, and everyone starts, heading off their ways. Grandma Walker has a moment with Grandma Davidson in the kitchen about just how the fact that, yeah, even though that she may have won the house, she may have won the property, she may have won everything that the Walkers own, it doesn't mean anything, because at the end of the day, the Walkers still consider anywhere their home, and what they build is more important than what she's ever going to try and build. And I can tell there was a moment in her, she knows she's right, but she's still holding the victory cup here, so she's just trying her best to hold the high horse. She tries to scoot it under the rug and try to make herself feel like the winner here with Jerry. Jerry says, "Can we stop with this? I'm already at limit with this freaking conversation," which I'm not surprised by this point. A very choice statement was made by Grandma Davidson about I knew we'd be back together at some point. But the way she said it was kind of a little bit off. It was kind of a little bit sus, and even Jerry notices how would you know? If you didn't know I was still alive? And she's like, well, I am a mother. My instincts are still high. Yeah, maybe you were dead still, but I would have met you at another life or another universe. And Jerry's like, okay. But, she goes off, and yeah, it's clear that she knows, Grandma Davidson knows something more than meets the eye. Let's just say that. Once James calls in Walker about the whole cyanide incident, they started realizing that, yeah, whoever the hell is threatening these two is pretty scary to the point where you're willing to commit suicide to avoid punishment. So I'm really concerned on who the hell these threats are. So they start worrying about Miles. They notify Cassie and also Trey, who's there with them, about it. And Miles is just telling them the revelation of him realizing that these people are legitimate threats and that he needs to find a way to stop them, but also keep his family safe. But around that time, the whatever this mysterious organization is, they break in, they start firing in the house. Thankfully, Troy and Cassie take care of them. They take them out by the time the rest of the Rangers arrive. So everything's secure, but this was only the beginning. If they found him once, they'll find him again. So they got to keep him on the move. So so much for that family reunion for Miles. So he's gonna wait on that. Before he's gonna bounce to the next safe house. He and Cassie have a few words about just the status of their relationship. They're all good, but of course, Cassie's gonna keep trying to fight to get Miles to be able to go back home to his family, kind of resume his normal life. Miles wishes the same. He still has faith that Cassie will get it done, and this will be the thing that Cassie would need to prove for herself that she is worthy to be a Ranger, when basically no one else would have believed her that she could have. So I found it to be powerful. It was nice to give Cassie another one, a reformation moment of this is my motivation, this is what I gotta do, and I'm gonna get this done no matter what. So I do appreciate that moment as well, and just to see them say goodbye, as a definite we will see each other again. It's just it'll be an even longer while. Yeah, I believe at this point Walker heads back over to the bar, and he talks to Jerry about just last night's events, and trying to like make sure that they're all right. And this is when Jerry starts bringing up her suspicions that, yeah, I think Grandma Davison might know more than what we were expecting, because the way she was saying about like, oh, I knew my daughter would come back to me, like it sounds like too much of an assuring way than more of like a speculation. So they call back over the guy who knew about Jerry's true biological nature. And he just flats out admits that, like, yeah, I never told anyone about this. Like, I knew that her father, the father that raised her, he knew that if that was to come out, then he would lose Jerry forever, because then she would do her best to get her back. And she would get her back since that's biologically her kid. So that was why he was protecting it. So if all these people didn't tell him, the only last person that would know about this is Marv. So if she was to have found out from Marv, what would the reaction be of like, I kept away our daughter for majority of our lives? Like, how would that affect someone? That's something that's questionable, and it's going to be something that anyone's reaction could be different. And considering the person that she is, it is a bit scary. And the episode ends with them speculating that what is she capable of as she's making an iced tea. Like it's trying to be like some sort of statement like, I am a strong friend. You put too much ice in your iced tea, I'll say that much. And that's where this episode of Walker ends. For me, I found this episode to be really great. This definitely kind of get things like your blood flowing for the finale next week. I can't wait to see how they're going to resolve the main conflict, which I'm assuming is just the fire in the Davisons. I feel like we're coming full circle. We started back in the premiere into the finale, which you'll be curious to see finally once and for all what the hell happened that night and kind of like figure out something. I don't think it's the end of the conflict. I don't think so. I think we still got some more ways to go with them before we can declare this conflict to be over, to be resolved and to move on. I don't think we're there yet, but it is nice to see like, we are building to some sort of culmination point, and that the entire dynamic between the Davisons and the Walkers might change forever. We don't know that for sure, but that's what I'm speculating. But overall with this episode, I think they performed every character on where their mind space is at with this entire rivalry, and where it could explode to when we come back next week with the finale. So, but again, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna give this episode 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for the finale next week. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode of Walker? Let's start the conversation down below. And that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 2nd season of Walker. If you want to know what we're doing normally on What's the Two, besides our Walker episode reviews, we're currently doing... What are we doing? Oh yeah, Tom Swift episode reviews each and every week after brand new episodes also on the CW, so go check them out there. But if you don't care about Walker, you're in luck. We'll be back next week for the finale review. I'll be on a little bit of a time crunch with that review. I'm going on vacation, a little vacation after I'm done wrapping with that review. So if that review seems even more rushed than usual, I apologize. It's just I got a lot of things. I really couldn't work out with the schedule any better. So the finale review will come out still on time next week Friday, and then the week afterwards you'll get the season 3 prediction video where we'll speculate what we will probably see in the 3rd season of Walker that comes back this fall, and then we will go into next week after that with the season 2 review. So we're not done yet. Although we get one more week of Walker content, you still got 3 more from me. So that's my gift to you. Little gift to you. We're not done yet. But again, this has been What's the Two from ActionX. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share if you want to. And please also ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. For all you Texas Rangers out there, I'll see y'all next week for the next episode review, the finale. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.